4 months ago, I, Eleanor Harper, 28 years old, poured every spare moment into planning a celebration for my parents' 25th wedding anniversary. I'd envisioned it as a night to remember, a chance to bring our family together in Raleigh, North Carolina. I booked a beautiful hall downtown, with tall windows and soft golden lights. Spent hours crafting a memory board filled with photos of their love story, and shelled out $700 of my own savings to make it perfect. I pictured my parents smiling, my younger brother Liam maybe even saying thank you for once. But when the night came, the hall sat empty. No parents. No Liam. Not a single text to explain why. My phone buzzed just once. A voicemail from Mom. I pressed play, my heart racing. Her voice was light, almost teasing. "Elena, sweetie, we're in Florence, Italy. We just wanted to keep you occupied." A laugh followed, sharp and careless, like a knife twisting in my chest. Dad's voice chimed in the background, chuckling, saying something about gelato. I stood frozen in that empty hall, the memory board I'd spent nights gluing together staring back at me. They hadn't just forgotten. They'd planned this, left me to pour my heart into a party no one would ever show up for. My chest tightened, not with tears but with something heavier, betrayal. It wasn't just the wasted time, the money, the sleepless nights. It was the lie, the way they'd let me believe this mattered. When all along they were sipping wine in Italy, laughing at how they'd kept me busy. I didn't scream, didn't call them back. I just stood there, alone, the weight of 4 months crashing down around me. I thought of all the times I'd put them first, how I'd always been the one to hold things together. And for what? To be their distraction? Their joke? A week later, my phone lit up with 42 missed calls from them in a single day. Voicemails piled up, their voices now frantic, begging me to pick up. I didn't. I sent one text back, short and simple. "I'm very occupied." They had no idea what I'd done, what I was about to do. If you've ever felt taken for granted by the people you love most, hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment below. Would you have answered those calls? Or walked away like I did? Let me know, because this is where my story begins. It all started in a tiny retail store, tucked away in a Raleigh strip mall. I, Elena Harper, spent my days folding clothes, ringing up customers, and forcing smiles for 8 hours straight. My real job, though, wasn't the one on my paycheck. It was keeping my family afloat. For years I'd been the one they leaned on, the one who paid the bills when things got tight. Rent for Mom and Dad's house, Liam's college tuition, even the groceries that kept our fridge stocked. I scraped by on what was left, telling myself it was temporary, family first, right? But deep down, there was a dream I'd buried. I wanted to be an interior designer. I used to sketch cozy living rooms in notebooks, imagining spaces filled with warm wood tones, soft textures, and light that felt like home. I'd dream of turning empty rooms into stories, places where people could build memories. But those sketches stayed hidden in a drawer, gathering dust while I worked to keep everyone else's lives together. 4 months ago, Mom called me with an idea. "Elena," she said, her voice bright but edged with expectation, "your dad and I are hitting 25 years. We need a big celebration. Something to show everyone how strong our family is." I nodded into the phone, already feeling the weight of it. Liam, my 20-year-old brother, chimed in on speaker. "Make it epic, Elena. Don't mess this up." His tone was half joking, but it stung. They always expected me to deliver, so I took it on, planning the perfect anniversary party. I wanted Mom and Dad to feel loved, to see me as the daughter who made it happen. I booked a hall downtown, a gorgeous space with tall windows and a view of the oak-lined streets of Raleigh. I spent nights designing invitations, picking a menu with Dad's favourite barbecue ribs and Mum's beloved peach cobbler. I even hired a local artist to paint a mural live during the party. A scene of Mum and Dad's wedding day, recreated in bold strokes. Every detail mattered, down to the candles I chose, flickering like stars on the tables. The real heart of it was the memory board. I stayed up late, my floor covered in old photos. Pictures of Mum and Dad's first date at a county fair. Their honeymoon on a Carolina beach. Me and Liam as kids, giggling in a backyard sprinkler. I glued each one carefully onto a board, adding little notes in my handwriting. July 1998. Dad burned the burgers, but we laughed anyway. I wanted them to walk into that hall, see those memories, and feel how much I cared. It cost me $700. Every cent from my savings. Nights I could have spent sketching designs, or even just sleeping. Went to calling vendors between store shifts. Make it quick, my manager would snap when I snuck in a call to the caterer. I'd rush, balancing my job and their demands. Mum would text daily. Eleanor, did you book the artist yet? Don't forget the dessert table. Dad would call, his voice gruff. This is a big deal, Elena. Liam's counting on you to make us look good. Their expectations piled up. Heavy and unspoken. Like I owed them my time. My money, my everything. I didn't question it. I was the older sister. The responsible one. The one who fixed things. I'd squeeze in calls to the hall manager during lunch breaks, jotting notes about table layouts on napkins. I thought about my old sketchbook. Untouched for years. Design classes, portfolio submissions. A chance to move to a city like Savannah, where art and history breathed in every corner. Those dreams felt like someone else's life. I pushed them aside, focusing on the party. At home, Mum would hover over my plans. Use ivory linens, not white, she'd say, flipping through my notes. It's classier. Liam would shrug when I asked for his input. Whatever, Elena, just make it cool. His replies were short. Distracted. I figured he was busy with college. His frat parties. His own world. I kept going. Gluing another photo. Checking another vendor. I imagined Mum and Dad's faces when they saw the hall. The way they'd pull me into a hug. That's what families do, right? You show up. You sacrifice. You make it happen. By the end, I was exhausted. But hopeful. The hall was booked. The memory board was done. The artist was ready. I sent Mum and Dad the final plan, expecting a thank you. Maybe even a we're proud of you. Dad texted back, looks fine. Mum didn't reply at all. I brushed it off, thinking they were just busy. I had no idea what they were planning behind my back, how they'd turned my effort into nothing. All I could think about was that moment, when they'd walk into the hall, see the love I'd poured into every detail. I thought it would mean something. I was wrong. The day of the anniversary party arrived, and I stood in the hall, my heart pounding with a mix of nerves and pride. The space was perfect. Tall windows let in the soft rally sunset, golden light bouncing off the ivory linens I'd chosen just for Mum. The memory board sat proudly on an easel. Every photo a piece of our family's story. The artist I'd hired was setting up her canvas. Her brushes ready to paint Mum and Dad's wedding day live for the guests. The air smelled of barbecue ribs and peach cobbler, warm and inviting. I'd done it. 4 months of work, $700 of my savings, countless late nights. It was all worth it. Or so I thought, but 6 p.m. came, and the chairs stayed empty. No Mom, no Dad, no Liam, not even a cousin or an aunt. My phone was silent. No texts, no calls. My stomach twisted, but I brushed it off. Maybe they were late. Stuck in traffic. Or picking up last-minute guests. I paced the hall, glancing at the door, willing it to open. The artist caught my eye, her smile kind but uncertain. Everything okay? She asked. I nodded, forcing a grin. Just waiting for the family, I said, my voice shakier than I wanted. By 6:15? I couldn't wait anymore. I sent Mom a text. Where are you? Party's starting. No reply. I tried Dad. Then Liam. Nothing. My fingers shook as I dialed Mum's number. Straight to voicemail. I tried Liam next. Same thing. Finally, I called Dad. After 4 rings, he picked up. His voice was casual, almost amused. "Hey, Elena," he said, like I was calling to chat about the weather. I heard chatter in the background, the clink of glasses, and a faint announcement in Italian. "Where are you guys?" I asked, my throat tight. A pause, then a chuckle. "Oh, we're in Florence, Italy. Didn't we tell you?" His laugh hit me like a punch. Sharp and careless. Mum's voice cut in, giggling. "We just wanted to keep you occupied, sweetie." "You're so good at planning." The line crackled, and I heard Liam in the background, shouting something about a vineyard tour. I couldn't move, couldn't speak. The phone stayed pressed to my ear as Dad rambled about their hotel. The cobblestone streets. The food. Then the call ended. I stood there, alone in that perfect hall. The artist was packing up her brushes, her mural half finished. The caterer, a kind older woman, approached me. "Need more time, hun?" she asked softly. I shook my head, unable to find words. My chest felt hollow, like someone had scooped out everything I'd trusted. They hadn't just forgotten me. They'd planned this, turned my love, my effort into a game, a distraction. 4 months. I'd spent 4 months pouring my heart into this party, checking every detail, spending my savings, staying up late to glue photos onto that memory board. All for nothing. The betrayal wasn't just their absence, it was the lie. The way they'd strung me along, knowing I'd do it all without question. I sank into a chair, staring at the memory board. There was a photo of me and Liam as kids, building a sandcastle on a beach. I'd written summer 2005. We thought it'd last forever. Now it felt like a cruel joke. I thought about all the years I'd put them first. Paying their bills, covering Liam's tuition, saying yes to every demand. I was the reliable one, the daughter who fixed things, the sister who showed up. But now, for the first time, I wondered what I was to them. Was I just the one they could count on to stay busy? The one they could use while they lived their lives? The caterer came back, offering to box up the food. I shook my head. "Donate it," I said quietly. I didn't want leftovers of a night that never happened. I walked to the memory board, still wrapped in tissue paper, untouched. I'd pictured Mom and Dad seeing it, smiling at the memories. Now it felt like a relic of a family I thought I knew. I left it there, not sure if I'd ever give it to them, as I stepped outside. The rally evening air hit me, sharp and cool. I wasn't angry, not yet. The hurt was too deep for that. But something stirred inside me. A question I'd never dared to ask. Why was I always the one left behind? I didn't have an answer, but standing there under the streetlights, I knew I couldn't keep playing their game. For once, I needed to figure out what I was worth. Not to them, but to myself. If you've ever poured your heart into something, only to realize it was all a lie, drop a comment below. Have you ever felt used by the people you love most? Share your story. Because mine's just getting started. That night, after leaving the empty hall, I sat in my small rally apartment. The silence so heavy it felt like a weight on my chest. The memory board I'd made for Mom and Dad sat on my kitchen counter, still wrapped untouched. I couldn't look at it, not yet. My phone buzzed again. Another missed call from Mom. I ignored it. Their laughter from that voicemail echoed in my head, sharp, mocking, like they'd never seen me as anything more than a means to an end. I wasn't ready to face them, but I was done letting their lies define me. Then, a text lit up my screen. It was from Maya, my best friend from high school. She'd moved to Charleston years ago, chasing her own dreams as a baker, but we still checked in now and then. Her message was short, but it cut through the fog in my mind. "Eleanor, you're worth more than this. There's a design course in Savannah, Georgia. Starts next month. Go for it." I stared at those words, my heart stuttering. Maya always saw what I couldn't, always knew when I was drowning. This wasn't just a suggestion. It was a lifeline. I opened my laptop, still in my coat from the night before, and searched for the course she mentioned. The website loaded, a program at a Savannah art school, focused on interior design and portfolio building. The images took my breath away. Cozy lofts with exposed brick, airy cafes with woven rugs, historic homes glowing with soft light. Each photo felt like a promise, a world where I could hold a sketchbook again. Not a stack of receipts. The course cost $1,800. Steep, but it offered workshops, mentorship, even a chance to showcase at a local design fair. I scrolled through the faculty bios, picturing myself in their studios, learning to shape spaces that told stories. Savannah wasn't just a city, it was a chance to start over. To be Elena, not the sister who paid the bills. Not the daughter who planned parties that never happened. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, my heart racing in a way it hadn't in years. This wasn't about running away. It was about running towards something. Something that was mine. I opened another tab, searching for flights from Raleigh to Savannah. A one-way ticket was $250. Doable if I dipped into what was left of my savings. I found a studio apartment near the art school. $900 a month. Small, but enough for a bed and a desk for my sketches. I bookmarked the listing, my mind moving faster now, like it had been waiting for this moment. I checked my lease. A year-long agreement, but there was a clause for early termination with a 1-month notice. I drafted an email to my landlord. Short and simple. I'd be moving out by the end of the month. My job at the retail store was trickier. I'd been there for 4 years. Folding clothes, scanning barcodes. A steady paycheck, but it was suffocating. I opened another email. This one to my manager. 2 weeks' notice, I wrote, keeping it professional. I didn't explain why. I didn't owe them that. I closed my laptop, my hands trembling, not with fear, but with possibility. I walked to my closet, pulling out an old sketchbook I hadn't touched in years. The pages were filled with my college drawings, ideas for airy living rooms, moody libraries, spaces that felt alive. Holding it felt like meeting an old friend, one I'd forgotten how much I missed. I flipped to a blank page, sketching a cafe with wooden beams and soft green walls. I imagined designing it in Savannah, walking cobblestone streets, sketching in historic squares under live oaks dripping with moss. The thought made my chest ache. Not with pain, but with hope. Maya texted again. "You doing this, Elena?" I smiled. Typing back, "Thanks for the push. I'm in." Her belief in me was like a spark, and I could feel it catching fire. I didn't tell her everything, not yet, but her words were enough to keep me moving. I opened my laptop again, registering for the course online. I filled out the forms, writing a bio that felt raw, honest. I want to rediscover my passion, to create spaces that mean something. It was the first time in years I'd spoken for myself, not for Mum, Dad, or Liam. The confirmation email arrived minutes later, locking in my spot. I stared at it, letting the reality sink in. I was going to Savannah. I was choosing me. I thought about Mum and Dad. About Liam. About their trip to Florence. Their laughter still stung, but I didn't let it pull me under. That was their story, not mine anymore. I grabbed a notebook, jotting down a list. Cancel utilities, pack essentials, sell my couch. My life in Raleigh could fit into a suitcase, and I realised how small I'd been living, tethered to their needs. No more. I checked my savings. $2,200 left after the party and the ticket. It wasn't much, but it was mine. I'd need a part-time job in Savannah, maybe at a coffee shop or a bookstore, something to cover rent while I studied. I searched online, finding openings at a cafe near the art school. I bookmarked them, already picturing a new routine, one where I wasn't just surviving. By midnight, my plan was taking shape. I'd leave in 4 weeks, enough time to wrap things up. I thought about telling Mum and Dad, but decided against it. They didn't deserve to know, not yet. I'd leave a note for Liam, maybe with the memory board. but nothing more. They'd find out when I was gone. When it was too late to pull me back, I pulled out my sketchbook again. Running my fingers over a drawing of a sunlit bedroom, it felt heavier now, not with weight, but with purpose. Savannah was waiting, and so was I. For the first time, I saw a future that wasn't defined by their expectations, their lies. I wasn't running from them. I was building something new, something that was mine alone. If you've ever had a moment where you realized you were worth more, where you chose yourself over someone else's demands, drop a comment. What was your turning point? I'd love to hear your story. Because mine's about to take a new turn, 3 weeks after the empty anniversary party. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. I was in my Raleigh apartment, packing boxes for Savannah, my sketchbook open on the table with a half-finished design for a cosy cafe. The calls kept coming. Mom, Dad, Liam. Over and over. 52 missed calls in 2 days. Voicemails piling up with their voices, sharp and desperate. I didn't listen to them. I didn't need to. I'd left the memory board on their dining table with a note. Simple, clear. This was for you. I'm done. I figured they'd found it when they got back from Florence. And now they were panicking. I ignored them, focusing on my plan. My flight to Savannah was booked. My lease was ending. My resignation from the retail store was final. I was ready to leave their world behind. But then a loud knock shook my door. "Eleanor, open up!" Mum's voice was shrill, laced with something I hadn't heard before. Fear. I took a deep breath, steadied myself, and opened the door. There they stood. Mum, Dad, and Liam. Faces flushed, the memory board clutched in Liam's hands. Mum stormed in without asking, her eyes blazing. "How could you do this to us?" she snapped, waving a hand like I'd committed a crime. Dad's voice was low, cold. "This is selfish, Elena, after everything we've done for you." Liam crossed his arms, glaring. "You're just mad we got to go to Italy." "Get over it!" I leaned against the counter, my heart steady, and said nothing. Their words bounced off me, like rain on a window. I wasn't the same Elena who'd planned their party, who'd jumped at their every demand. Then Mum dropped the bomb. "We know you took money from the family account," she said, her voice shaking with accusation. "You spent it on that ridiculous party, didn't you?" My stomach lurched, not from guilt but from disbelief. Dad stepped closer, his eyes narrowing. "We trusted you, Eleanor, and you stole from us." Liam smirked, like he'd caught me in a trap. "We called the police. They're coming." I froze, my mind racing. The family account? I hadn't touched it. Every cent for the party, the hall, the artist, the food, came from my personal savings. I'd shown them the receipts, sent them the plans. And then it hit me, a twist so cruel it took my breath away. I opened my banking app, my hand steady despite the anger bubbling inside. I pulled up my savings account, and there it was. A withdrawal, $2,000, transferred out 2 weeks before the party. The date matched their flight to Florence. They hadn't just lied to keep me busy. They'd taken my money, my savings, to fund their trip to Italy. And now they were turning it around, accusing me of theft to keep me in line. I looked at them. Mum's fake tears, Dad's righteous glare, Liam's smug grin. They thought they could guilt me into staying, into fixing this like I always did. "Not this time. I didn't take anything," I said, my voice calm but firm. "But you did." I held up my phone, showing the transaction. Mum's face paled. Dad's jaw tightened. Liam looked away. "Let's wait for the police," I said, crossing my arms. "We'll sort this out." An hour later, 2 officers knocked on my door. Mom and Dad stood behind them, confident they'd won. Liam flipped through the memory board, like it was proof of my betrayal. The lead officer, a woman with a no-nonsense stare, asked for my side. I walked to my desk, pulled out a folder, and handed it over. These are my bank statements, I said, pointing to the highlighted lines. $700 for the hall, $200 for the artist, all from my account. And here, I tapped the screen, $2,000 withdrawn. Without my permission. Check the dates. It matches their trip. The officer scanned the papers, then turned to Mum and Dad. This checks out, she said. Her tone clipped. No evidence of theft on her part. But this withdrawal, she raised an eyebrow. You might want to explain that yourselves. Dad's confidence crumbled. Mum stammered. We thought it was a shared account. The officer shook her head. Sort this out privately, or we'll dig deeper. She nodded to me, almost apologetic, and left with her partner. The room went quiet. Their accusations, their lies, they fell apart like a house of cards. Mom tried again. Her voice softer now. Elena, we didn't mean to hurt you. Let's talk. We're family. I shook my head. There's nothing to talk about, I said, my voice steady. I'm leaving for Savannah in 2 weeks. I'm done being your bank. Your planner. Your backup, Liam scoffed, tossing the memory board onto the table. You're so dramatic, he said. You'll come crawling back when you fail. I met his eyes, unflinching. I won't, I said. And I meant it. Dad stepped forward, his voice hard. You owe us, Elena. We raised you. I didn't blink. I paid that debt, I said. Years of it. Rent, tuition, your lives. I'm done. The air felt thick, their anger fading into something else, a flicker of realization. They'd underestimated me. Assumed I'd always bend. Not anymore. I opened the door, gesturing for them to leave. You've got the memory board, I said to Liam. Keep it. It's the last thing you'll get from me. Mom reached out, her hand trembling, but I stepped back. Go, I said. My voice firm but calm. They walked out, Mom muttering about loyalty, Dad silent, Liam clutching the board like it burned his hands. I closed the door, the lock clicking with a finality that felt right. I sat down, my heart steady, their accusations fading into the background. They'd tried to chain me with guilt, with lies, but I'd cut through them. Savannah was waiting, and I was ready to meet it, on my own terms. If you've ever had to stand up to someone you loved, to say no and mean it, drop a comment below. What gave you the strength to draw that line? I'd love to hear, because that moment changed everything for me. The door clicked shut behind them. And for the first time in years, I felt a quiet settle over me. Not the heavy silence of that empty hall in Raleigh, but something lighter, like breathing after being underwater too long. I'd faced Mom, Dad and Liam, laid bare their lies, and walked away. The memory board, the accusations, their trip to Florence. It was their mess now, not mine. I turned back to my apartment, boxes half packed for Savannah, my sketchbook open on the table. My future was waiting, and I wasn't looking back, but I wasn't done yet. The next morning, I sat down with a coffee, my laptop glowing in the dim light. I drafted an email to our extended family, aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone who'd been invited to that anniversary party. I kept it simple, honest. I planned Mum and Dad's 25th anniversary celebration. I wrote, I spent $700, 4 months, my heart. They didn't show up. They were in Florence, Italy, using $2,000 they took from my savings. I attached a photo of the empty hall, the memory board untouched, the artist's half-finished mural. I didn't need to say more. The truth spoke louder than any anger could. I sent a separate message to Liam's college friends, a tight-knit group he'd always bragged about. Liam's big family celebration? I wrote. It was a lie. I planned it. Paid for it. And they left me waiting while they partied in Italy. I included the same photo. The empty tables. The candles burned low. I hit send, closed my laptop, and let it go. I wasn't here to watch the fallout. I was done with their drama. By noon. My phone was buzzing again. Notifications flooded in, but I muted them. Cousins texted. Shocked, filling in the blanks. How could they do that to you? One wrote. Neighbours, who'd once waved at Mum and Dad during block parties. Sent messages of support. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. The truth was out. And it was unravelling their world. Liam's life crumbled first. His friends, the ones who'd envied his Instagram posts from Florence, started whispering. By the next day, his name was mud at school. Classmates who'd once tagged him in party photos now saw him as the guy who'd ditched his sister, who'd let her pay for his tuition while he smirked in Italy. His social media went quiet. No more posts about craft beer or late-night study sessions. A cousin told me he'd lost half his group chat, his so-called loyal crew. I didn't gloat. I didn't need to. Mom and Dad faced their own reckoning. Our family, tight-knit and vocal, didn't take kindly to their stunt. Aunt Clara, who'd already offered me her guest room in Savannah, called Mom to ask why they'd lied. Cousins unfollowed them online. Family group chats buzzed with disapproval. The neighbours stopped inviting Mum to their book club. Dad's weekly poker nights dried up. Their image, the perfect parents, the community pillars, it cracked like cheap glass. They'd always cared about appearances, and now they had none. Their reaction came fast and predictable. My phone lit up again. Mum's number first, then Dad's, then Liam's, voicemail stacked up, each one sharper than the last. Eleanor, how could you humiliate us? Mum's voice was half tears, half fury. Dad's was colder. You've ruined our family's name. Liam's was pure venom. You're a liar. And everyone will see it. I listened to the first one, then deleted the rest. Their words didn't touch me anymore. My finger was steady as I cleared them. One by one, they tried text next. Long paragraphs blaming me, calling me ungrateful, demanding I fix the mess. Mum wrote about loyalty, Dad about respect, Liam about how I'd stolen his spotlight. I read the first line of each, then archived them. I didn't owe them a response. I'd spent years cleaning up their messes, paying their bills, planning their lives. This was their chaos, and they'd face it alone. Maya texted me that afternoon. Her message short but warm. Heard what you did. Proud of you, Elena. I smiled, typing back a quick thanks. Her words were enough. A nod from someone who got it. I didn't need her to say more. That spark she'd lit weeks ago, it was still burning. I kept packing, folding sweaters, boxing up books. My suitcase sat by the door, my sketchbook tucked safely inside. Savannah was a week away, and I could already see it. Cobblestone streets, historic squares, studios filled with designers like me, hungry to create. The chaos here, the calls, the texts. It was just noise now. I wasn't angry, wasn't hurt. I was free. Mom tried one last time, showing up at my apartment that evening. Her knock was soft, her voice muffled through the door. Eleanor, please, let's talk. I stood on the other side, my hand on the lock. Silent, she waited. Maybe 5 minutes, then left. I didn't feel guilt. Didn't feel torn. I'd said what I needed to. Not with words, but with actions. The email, the message to Liam's friends. They were my line in the sand. I sat on my couch. The apartment nearly empty now. Just a few boxes left. The silence wasn't heavy anymore. It was peaceful. Like the calm before a new beginning. I'd torn down the lies they'd built. Not for revenge, but for truth. They'd face their consequences. And I'd face my future. Savannah wasn't just a place. It was mine. A chance to write my own story. Sketch by sketch. Design by design. If you've ever had to let the truth speak for itself, to walk away and let others face their own mess, drop a comment below. What was it like to finally let go? I'd love to hear. because letting go was the moment I found myself, a week later. I stepped off the plane in Savannah, Georgia, my sketchbook tucked in my bag, my heart lighter than it had been in years. The air was warm, heavy with the scent of live oaks and history. I wasn't running away from Raleigh, from Mom, Dad, or Liam. I was running toward something, a life that felt like mine. Aunt Clara waited at baggage claim, her smile wide and real under the airport lights. "Welcome home, Elena," she said, pulling me into a hug that felt like safety. Her house, a cozy shotgun-style home near the art school, became my temporary haven. That first night, we sat on her porch, sipping sweet tea, talking about Savannah's quirks. The way the squares bloomed with azaleas, the hidden art galleries tucked down cobblestone alleys. She didn't ask about my family, didn't push. She just handed me a spare key and said, "This is your space now." Those words settled in me, like a promise I was ready to keep. The design course started the next week. I walked into the studio, my sketchbook under my arm, and felt a spark I hadn't known since college. The instructor, a woman with a knack for blending modern and historic styles, taught us how to design a space that told a story. I took notes, my pen flying, my mind alive. My classmates were a mix, some fresh out of school, others older like me, chasing a dream they'd put on hold. We bonded over late-night critiques, coffee runs to local cafes, our sketches pinned to the studio walls like dreams taking shape. I spent my days exploring Savannah, sketchbook in hand. I drew a cafe with exposed brick and soft blue curtains, inspired by a corner shop I passed on Broughton Street. I sketched a historic home, its tall windows glowing with evening light, imagining how I'd make it warm and lived in. Every line I drew felt like a victory, a step toward the life I'd chosen. The city wrapped around me, its moss-draped oaks, its bustling markets, its quiet riverfront. I wasn't just designing spaces. I was building myself, piece by piece. I got a part-time job at a bookstore near the art school, shelving novels and chatting with customers about design. It paid the rent, kept me grounded while I studied. My phone stayed quiet. No calls from Mom. No texts from Dad or Liam. I checked my email once, saw nothing from them, and closed it. Their anger, their lies, they belonged to a life I'd left behind. My focus was here, in Savannah, where I was just Elena. Not the sister who fixed everything, not the daughter who paid the bills. Looking back, I learned something vital. Choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's about living true to who you are, not who others expect you to be. I'd spent years thinking love meant giving everything, erasing myself to keep my family happy. But real love, it includes you. It means setting boundaries, saying no, and building a life that lights you up. Savannah taught me that. And every sketch I drew was proof of it. I started small, designing a corner of a local cafe for my first project. The owner loved my idea. A cozy nook with reclaimed wood tables and soft lighting. When it was done, I stood back, watching people settle in, laughing over coffee. That space, it was mine, a piece of my heart made real. And I knew this was just the beginning. To everyone listening to my story, thank you for staying with me. I hope it hits home, maybe even sparks something in you. Have you ever had to choose yourself over someone else's expectations? Maybe set a boundary with family, or walked away from a role you'd outgrown? Drop a comment. Share your story. It matters, just like mine did. We're not alone in this, in finding our way, in building something true. And here's what I've learned, what I want you to carry with you. Your worth isn't tied to what you do for others. It's in who you are, in the dreams you chase, the boundaries you set, the life you build. You don't have to stay small to keep others comfortable. Step into your own story, and don't look back.